Hello and welcome back to another video for Final Fantasy XIV with me, Meoni. Today we're looking at all sorts of things that came out of FanFest 2024 at the Tokyo Dome in Japan. The first of which I wanted to really go through this side-by-side comparison. We got quite a few more images for the majority of race combos for the new graphics update. The most striking thing immediately, as you can see behind this, the thing that kind of pulled my eyes away from the character was how detailed those environments look now. That's the thing that myself and many other people on my Discord call at the time when we were reacting to this were like, whoa, look at that wall, look at that moss. And I know that's besides the point, but it must be said that is a really nice looking wall. Apart from that then, on this character we have lots of detail put into the hair. That's the thing that strikes me the most. Obviously we've got better shaders and textures and shadows. The nose looks more curved on the edge rather than being kind of jolted at the end. The chin is more defined with more curves around there and a much better shadowing. It kind of allows for better muscle tone, especially on the neck there as it comes down from the ear. And the ear as well has a lot more sort of light on it than was there previously. A lot of people have said that maybe the ears look a little less realistic, but you've got to remember these are reactive to light, and they've shown in the previous demo where light comes through the actual ear itself with the scattering technology, so it might be just the particular angle of this shot. The eyes are a massive upgrade. You can't really see that much in this picture. Human or higher eyes have always been a little bit better in regards, or a little less obvious. I think they've done a really good job with this, at least with the male character, and obviously look at that leather detailing on the shoulders there of that outfit. Very cool. When it comes to the female then, this to me is a lot more striking. You can tell a lot more with the shadow from the fringe, right, which is something you didn't see with the male character. The shadows really are putting in some serious work here. The way that the fringe is basically creating this darker sort of highlight over the eyes as well. The eyes are like piercing through the darkness. Very, very cool. The lips are a lot more glossy in places. You can tell that, you know, that they're brighter, they're more reflective and reactive to light. Yeah, the hair is absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to get the improved hairstyles. Just that alone in this expansion will be enough for me to go, oh yeah. But the rest of it as well, fantastic. Also, look at that pendant on the choker that sort of attaches to the outfit. Is that the hempen camise? I can't quite tell. But, oh, it's so reflective. The metal is much darker. And then the little pins below that as well, like the clasps. It's going to look so crazy in this game now. Especially considering you can imagine that every single texture like that in the environment of 7.0 areas is going to also have the same treatment. Absolutely mad. So then we move obviously over here, and it's really nice to see some representation of darker skin colors, because previously the game had trouble sort of reacting to darker skin colors. That's something that Yoshi P has mentioned before, so they really wanted to give demonstrations of how well they've sort of addressed this. And as you can see on the right there, it's night and day, literally. Like, the skin is so much more, how do you describe it? It looks more silken. There's more definition, muscle definition there, especially around the collarbones and that neck muscle. The stitching on the actual face scar is just, it looks more realistic on the left. I hadn't really looked at this before, but the left original image just kind of looks like it's not really there, and on the right it looks like the person has been injured and this is stitch work. The face paint as well, if that's exactly the same color face paint, that's quite impressive. It's almost like it's dried on the paint. You'll find that with a lot of these demonstrations as well, where they do show face paint off, it's a lot more either darker or richer in color, or it flakes at certain points, like you can see the flaking. The hair here is probably less noticeable in my opinion. It might be because of, you know, where the character is, once again, less noticeable. You can see obviously a little bit of improvement, but I can't say that that's as much of a drastic change from the other hairstyles. But of course, maybe it was just the brightness of those previous hairstyle demonstrations that made them stand out more. The goatee is really impressive, though. It's much more hair look-alike. I don't know how to describe it. It looks less painted on and more actual like facial hair, which is nice. Again, with all of the details on the shoulders there, this leather. Very cool stuff. Very cool. Then we move on to the female. So the hair is the initial thing that stands out to me personally. Also, the shadows on the eye from the eyebrow make her look a little bit more defined, more... How do I describe this? A little bit more serious in tone. The left side has a little bit of a wanting gaze, if you want to call it, lack of a better sort of form of terminology. On the right side, she looks more serious. Also, the chin. There's a lot of angles on the original that they've ironed out. They've curved them. The chin is so much more defined. It curves around there as well. And the lips are much more luscious. And it's just so good. The nose especially looks less like a cornflake box and more like an actual nose. But yeah, the hair is the thing that really draws my attention to this. And you'll find that with many of the hairstyles, especially when they show them in white like this, which is exactly why they've shown them like this. Then we come over to elezen. The male elezens are absolutely awesome. Again, another thing they're not demonstrating here is light from behind the character. So a lot of the character's ears in the game, they showed it on elezen at the European Fan Fest, will have light penetrating through objects and scattering out the other side. So you'll actually see as if it was a real ear, right, where the skin is thinner, but it's not shown here. But that elezen looks so much better than the original. Like the forehead alone, the definition between the hair and the skin, the shadows, it doesn't look right on the left side, does it? It also makes him look a lot younger. Have you noticed that? Like the right side image, he looks maybe 5 years younger in my mind than he does on the left. On the left, he looks a little bit older. I don't know if that's because of the extra bends and the lack of pixels there, but it's noticeable. Again, the clothing. Look at that. Wow. Incredible. Then we move over to, obviously, the female elezen. And that's night and day as well. Look at the eyes. The eyes are the thing that sort of punches out the most here. It really sort of extenuates the curves on this image more than anything else. Like her eyes are, well, they're way more realistic. She looks less like some kind of doll and more like an actual character you would expect to see. I don't know. I really like the definition. The hair as well isn't as obvious, but it is still obvious because of the shading and the shadows cast from that piece of hair. I think you're going to have the most mileage from the new hair changes with anything with a fringe, anything with bangs, or anything with long hair in general. You're going to see the most difference. At least I think so. The leather, though, look at that collar, right, that comes down to the rest of the outfit. It looks amazing. You can almost see like the little cracks in the leather as opposed to the original that kind of almost looks a bit like PVC in comparison. That's absolutely amazing, isn't it? I love looking at these images. Then we move on to the best race in the game, the miqo'te. First, we've got some males. All I'm going to say is Hrothgar is going to look even cooler in the game. A lot of people are going to swoon for him even more because that right side image, look at the definition, the shading, the shadows cast from the fringe. Once again, the fringe, it's bringing out all of those curves. I think that a lot of the images where I've said it's not as noticeable are just simply because of where they're standing. And it's going to look incredible when you actually move in the game, you know? We're not playing a static PNG as a video game. We're playing a moving, living, breathing world. And it's going to look 10 times better than this. The hair is the real selling point for me here as well. It looks more fluffy, you know, miqo'te with the hair, the ears, much fluffier. Exactly what I envisioned. And also the face looks more, again, he looks more rugged, more handsome than the original. Characters are going to look so good in this game, especially compared to some of the older world models when we visit places. It's going to be quite striking. And then we've got the female of the species, which they've shown in much darker tones of skin, which is absolutely awesome. I love how they've done this deliberately to show how light hits the character. Yoshi P mentioned how previously it was almost impossible to sort of tell a darker skinned character in a dark place with limited lighting. It looked a bit strange in places, and if you've ever been to the Gold Saucer, you've actually done the jumping puzzles. I think it's the which one is it? Mount Coral, I think it is, out of the two of them. There's this light at the top. If you make it up there, you're so close to the light, but it's so dark around you that every single character looks really strange. But darker skinned characters look even worse. Like, for some reason, the light doesn't work at all on them. It's weird. So I'm glad that they've gone out of their way to show this demonstration. It's kind of got that sheen across the skin. The skin feels more like skin as opposed to just this, I don't know what they were trying to do on the previous one. Again, what I said earlier, the face paint. On the original picture on the left there, it just kind of looks like it was just sort of painted on in MS Paint. Whereas the new one looks like you can see the brush stroke where the paint was applied with a brush, and you could see like the brush stroke itself fading off. I don't know how they've done that, but that is incredible. Absolutely incredible. The eyebrows, way more defined. They look less out of place, bringing less attention to that part of the eye. The eyes themselves, big globes, you know, that shine, that sheen. It looks absolutely amazing. The lips as well, with the light reflections there. The hair is probably, again, because there's no fringe or because of where they're stood, is probably the least noticeable thing, but you can really tell, especially on the ear, the pixelation rather, on the left one is horrible. On the right side, those wisps look way more defined. Like, miqo'te ears are a love and a hate relationship, because in certain colors and certain types of hair to go with them, it stands out more than others. It's going to make it so that with the new version, you'll be able to use so many more hairstyles where you don't have that sort of defined, oh, look at this fault over here moment. I can't wait to see it. And this will be the same with Viera as well. Anything with ears and horns especially. Let's move on then. Obviously we got some roegadyns here, looking absolutely amazing. I will say this is probably one of the most striking in terms of the face. Like, the facial changes are the most striking here. Obviously the shading, the shadows there above the eyes themselves are a little less bright, but I think that's probably from the shadows. The real thing to take home from this is the bandages on the nose and the cheek look kind of just like white blobs on the left side, but on the right side they look like fabric plasters. Like, you can actually see the details on that. That gives me great hope for textures. Just clothing, as you can see from the gown he's wearing there and the sort of like pin thing, but different types of clothing like cloth and cotton, and the actual differences between them, and satin and silk, you know what I mean? The hair is probably the less obvious thing there, but if you look really closely, especially at the top of the sort of fringe edge above his right eye, you'll notice that instead of just being a blob, like a block, it's now got defined lines, like defined hairs. That's the thing I noticed the most. You have to zoom in a lot further to see the changes, but yeah, actually looks really cool. I'm really, really happy about that. Again, the sheen on the lips, the nose, much more defined, less of a block sort of shape on the nose and more of like a curved, more realistic, what they would look like. And then the female version looking pretty cool. I'm not so sure about the cheeks, actually. I don't know if that's necessarily the lighting or the resolution of the image, but myself and quite a few of the people that I was talking to in Discord when this was unveiled were commenting, why do the cheeks still look quite pixelated? I don't know if that's just a type of, you know, the whatever skin tone and the pattern on there, but it does look a little bit off compared to the rest of it. It's just slightly. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. The eyes really define this though. Like, she looks so much more warm-hearted as opposed to almost limbal rings on the left side. You know what I mean? Like, those look like actual eyes now. The hair is nice and defined. Lots of shadows and shading coming from that. The lips are less outlined and looks slightly blurry in this image. It could be just the image, but without that defined outline, that black outline, you've got them looking more realistic, But I would say that for some reason they look a little bit lower resolution than the rest of the face. I don't know if that's something that other people might comment on. To me, I don't know, my eyes are terrible. I have to wear quite powerful glasses, a prescription, so maybe it's not, but they look a little bit on the blurry side. Very cool though, I can't wait to see them in the game. Then we move over to Lalafell, first the males. Looking awesome, actually, looking absolutely awesome. I'm glad that they've kept the definition of the nose there, and in this example, that darker tone around the nose seems to have carried across. The shadows on the neck it's probably the least noticeable if you don't look at the eyes. The eyes are the thing that's changed the most here, and slight definition changes around the cheeks especially. Like the way that their cheeks look a little bit flushed in places, that red sort of almost like the blood under the skin, right, in certain places. And of course the shadows underneath the fringe, again, that tiny little fringe and the ears. But yeah, actually quite drastic, isn't it? Looks amazing. I do love the attention to detail on that leaf-shaped pin to pin that gown, or was it a scarf or section. That looks amazing. It reminds me of something from Lord of the Rings. It looks less just painted on and like an actual clasp now. I'm going to be so excited to revisit many pieces of gear. And also the fabric looks completely different. On the left, it looks more like a plastic. It looks like something you'd find on a toy soldier, like a plastic scarf. And on the right side, it looks like it could actually bend, perhaps. You know, you've got all those lines, almost stripes, to show that it's actual fabric, almost like a satin, a silk, or something similar to that. And the belt buckles as well. Well, buckles rather. Oh, this is going to be so cool, isn't it? And then on the female, again, they've gone with a darker tone. I'm so glad that they've done this, because it's brave of them to do, because I'm glad they didn't gloss over it. They wanted, you know, everybody to have the same sort of experience when it came to the changes, and I think they've done a really good job. It's so much different. That is 10 times an improvement. Look at that. It's so much more obvious. The eyes, for one, but the face, it's so much easier to see all of the details, and the paint on the cheeks, and the way the light is hitting the skin, and you can see the contours. So on the left image, it looks quite flat, and on the right, you've got that sort of contour between the nose and the eye, her left eye, where there's that shine, and it gives that kind of edge, that sort of like curved edge across the cheek as well, and then down to the mouth. Absolutely incredible. I was blown away when I saw this. I was like, okay, that's going to make my female Lalafell alt look amazing. Really, really cool. And I think a lot of people will decide to have darker skin tones because they will look better than they did previously. And it's really cool that they've done this. Really, really happy. The hair is amazing there as well. I don't know if there's a slight pink hue, like a tint to that hair. It looks like it to me, unless it's just the lighting. But it's much more defined. Also, see the strands of hair? They're actual strands now, as opposed to just a clump with a slight bit of transparency. You can actually see through them. Really, really cool. Really, really cool. I'm really happy about Lalafell. They look amazing. And then we come on to the Aura, which has probably seen yet again one of the most advanced revisions we've seen, especially considering they have horns. They have more to deal with, I would say, than any other race in the game currently, especially when it comes to getting things right. Pixelization on the left, oh boy, it's going to look incredible. I'm so envious of anybody who plays Aura as their main character, because you're going to see this every day. That right side horn, like the facial horn, oh my goodness, look at that. It's it's like the left side is like PS1 graphics, you know what I mean? And the right side is Xbox One or PlayStation 5. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing that, like, you can see not only the contours of the horn, but it almost feels like it's plated, like it's grown, you know what I mean? Grown in sections, which is exactly how it's supposed to feel. Whereas on the left, it just looks like, I don't know, just a piece of porcelain or something. I don't know. The hair's really cool on this one as well. It's a slight change because of a color choice, but it looks so much more defined, less pixelization. But the facial patterns as well, the bridge of the nose upwards to the forehead, the chin, the cheek scales, the scales that go down the neck towards the chest. Just so much more detail. So much more detail. I think they've done a really good job this time. My feedback on this is keep it how it is now. Also, can we just pay extra special attention to the limbal rings on the eyes? That's something a lot of people have glossed over because of the horns being the most, attractive part of this image. But they are so much better. Originally, limbal rings, if you don't know, the white or colored rings around the eyes themselves in the inner eye, looked kind of like discs of color that were too bright, and then the rest of the eye. I mean, you could choose to not have them, but yeah, at least now they're going to look more blended, like that, less of a thing to detract away from the details, and actually looks like an addition, looks like you've got some light behind your eyes. It's definitely an aura feature that I always smile when I see people who do choose to have limbal rings, because a lot of people do not. And they're going to look so much different. So, also, one last thing on this image. That lever on the strap there. I personally preferred originally the left side image, but now I've started to think about what that material is made of. The right side image actually makes more sense. So not only is it what looks better material-wise for the lots of clothing, but more across the point of what that material is actually made of. So I think it's better overall. Female aura. Yeah, I don't think anybody can stare at this image and be disappointed. If you are and you're an aura player, then I'm surprised. Very surprised. Horn on the side of the hair there, on the head. Wow. Actually looks like, it's made of horn. The scales on the head, around the cheek, down the neck, and then across the front of the neck, going down towards the breast. Incredible, incredible. The fabric here and the metal is the thing that probably attracts me the most, though. I'm like, whoa, look at the detail. Look at the glow up, man. The metal no longer looks like a pixelated mess. Look at that weird, shaped metal that comes in from the bottom right. It actually shines and has, a scuffed texture now to make it look like metal, as opposed to a bit of plastic from a failed cosplay attempt, Incredible, incredible side by side. The eyes, biggest changes there. The shading, shadows coming down from the hairline. I couldn't be happier. Characters are going to look amazing in this game. I cannot wait. Really cannot wait. Then we come on to Hrothgar. Probably one of the smaller changes. I think most people will agree with that, but the most defined changes, because instead of it just being painted on colors, now it looks like actual fur. They could even go a little bit further, in my opinion. They could have gone a little bit further with that, but I don't think they would have necessarily had the budget to make them go much more fur-like, without just changing all of the textures completely. They do look better, I personally think. It does look more like how I envisioned a Hrothgar to maybe look. The hairline's better. The ears are 10 times better. They look less just painted on. The facial hair looks good, and the body hair. But I think they could have gone a bit further, but I'm happy that they've got a kind of fuzzy sort of fur, especially on the lips there as well, and on the nose. I don't know. There's going to be a split opinion on this one, I think. Do people want something that looks less like fur or more like skin, or more like fur and less like skin? I think this is maybe a happy medium between the two. But they don't look bad, and I think they've done a good job, personally. Then we go on to Viera, first the males. This is incredible. Male Viera look amazing. The shadows coming down from the fringe, because it's covering the majority of the face. The reason they've gone for that demonstration, I think, is to show you how much those shadows change how a character looks. On the left side, they look less filled with emotion, if that makes sense. And on the right, they look almost brooding. It's quite impressive, actually. The lips are more defined. The hair itself is a lot more of it, so we're getting a better demonstration of what longer hairstyles would look like, which is awesome. The choker there looks actually realistic as opposed to the original. The metal, the design on that, wow, the texture quality is so much higher. Yeah, I'm really, really excited to see Viera in the game now. Hopefully this applies to NPCs. It should do, or at least in 7.0 areas, and then hopefully when they backdate this, it doesn't take too long, because the world's going to feel completely different, especially with the texture changes to the environment as well. But really pleased with that. Female Viera, they're showing those dark skins off again. One of the darker options that you can choose, actually. And again, the definition on the right side image is just incredible. The piercing red eyes. I do like the fact that they've shown it with red eyes, because I've created lots of Aura characters and other characters that I've tried to make look almost like demons with the red eyes. And red eyes always kind of get a bit washed out. But it seems now that with the new eye textures and new quality, they are going to pierce through the void. They are awesome. I love them. Things to obviously look at here. We've got much better definition across the head. The lighting that goes across here looks absolutely fantastic. The lips are lit up. Much more, definition, for lack of a better way of defining this. The curvature, the light, how it hits certain parts, like the section of the inner eye as it goes to the cheek, the nose especially. The hair is incredible. Like, I really hope all of the long hairstyles in the game look like that, because wow. Look at that. Look, the bits that come down, like the baby hairs almost. Oh my goodness. And then the sort of like hair fasteners at the top there. Looking incredible. Look less like we're playing tic-tac-toe with a hairline, but actually like fasteners. Yeah, I'm really impressed with this. Really, really impressed with this. And you should be too. And then our last image will show off the female Hrothgar, which obviously we don't have any before shots of what they might have looked like, but you can get a better demonstration from this one image than you can from the male image of how the fur is going to look on a body. As you can see, they've got that definition between the fur having different levels of ruggedness. So especially on that front picture, front character there in that picture, there's like those larger clumps of hair, and then there's the fur that goes between, almost down to sort of like a skin, like a shaven sort of skin texture. It looks amazing, doesn't it? Absolutely amazing. I see a lot of people on the fence about female Hrothgar, but the more I look at them, the more I'm like, yeah, that's the best way they could have gone with it. Out of the two directions that they could have gone with that I previously talked about, either more fur or more skin, I think they found the happy medium. And I think the faces are the most striking thing. They kind of remind me of different types of cat. Different types of what we got there, like short-nosed cats and things like that, or lionesses. Yeah, really cool, actually. Really, really cool. I like them. Bite me. But yeah, I think they've done a really good job. I'm hoping that we get to see these in the character creator in the benchmark. There's still no release date for the benchmark. I would imagine it will be soon, honestly, if they've got the majority of this ready. Usually the benchmark is not only a good way of demonstrating your game and if your computer can live up to the graphics updates, which is also another important reason. There's always usually a character creator where you can try out the new races. They did that previously for male Hrothgar and for Bun Buns as well, so it would make sense to have female Hrothgar in there, as well as some of the other character changes. They could get some feedback from it even if it wasn't final. Anyway, let me know what you're most excited for. Is your Warrior of Light changed the way you want it to be? Is it not? Let me know. Much love, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.